Hey fellas. Weird. It's weird. Watermelon. 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 Raw. Hey fellas. Welcome to part 2 of Kinetic's 1/48 scale F-16B build with as Doug Masters playing in Iron Eagle, one of the greatest movies ever. In this exciting episode, I get it all together. I don't go real in depth with it. Kinetic, and this is the last time I'm gonna say this. I swear, don't buy this. This kit's not good. Kinetic kits. I'm done with them. I don't like them. They're just not good. Anyway, so that's the last time I'm gonna say that. Just stay away from them. Mr. Kinetic's probably gonna call me and say you badmouthed my kit. Oh well, yeah, your kit sucks, Mr. Kinetic. Anyway, in this exciting episode, I get it all together, and I just go through some of the issues like closing up the landing gear bay doors, and they're kind of fussy. And what else did I do? I'm not really sure. Either way, I get it in primer. I've got the missiles and pylons and all that stuff done, so that's out of the way. I like to do that first because I don't really enjoy making and painting the missiles and bombs. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. But I got those done, taken care of. They're all magnetized, and I am ready to paint after this one. So enjoy the video, fellas. All right, fellas. Oh, boy. Things went off the rail pretty quick when I went to put this thing together. Kinetic kits, they're just not good. But, oh well, we'll deal with it. I've dealt with a lot worse. So, let's take a look at what we've got done. I've got the cockpit together, and it is in there. I've got, let me go grab a little Dougie Masters and the other ejection seat. And I will put those in before I close up the canopy, but there's a little Dougie and the ejection seat. I added some seat belts there with some tape for the rear seat. I've got the intakes closed up because I don't want any of my filler to get inside there and mess it up, but it looks pretty good. I'll show you that before I close it up to start painting. Oh, I got a frog in my throat. But yeah, you can see things didn't work out so well. This kit, like the edges, the edges of the plastic are sometimes frayed, and it's just, we'll take a look down here. The edges of this plastic is just not good. So when you meet these pieces up and they don't fit together real well, it's just nasty. So I'm just gonna come in here and fill these seams in on the air brakes. And then I'll sand them away and then scribe another line in there. Hopefully I can take care of it that way. The seam right along this back part actually isn't too bad. Right along here, it didn't go so well. The kit just doesn't fit together real good. And, you know, I worked on it and glued slowly. And there's still a few issues. Now I can come in there and probably fill that in with some Mr. Surfacer and clean that up a bit. But, and then the two sections right here don't fit very well either. So I'm gonna have to work on those and come up with a solution to get these two sections on here. And I'll cover that a little bit later. But my main issue is the landing gear bay doors. And they were really bad. Now let's take a look at this. And there is quite a big step, and I glued these in. There's a big gap down here and then a step here, and I don't know. I don't think it's my fault. I think it's just the kit. It's just a poorly made kit, and I don't think the landing gear bays were meant to be closed, so that always poses an issue. So what I'm doing now is I'm filling this area, and you can see I've started over here and got this side smooth. But I'm going to fill this area in, make it all even with my CA and metallic pigment. Now, the last video that I did with CA metallic pigment, I like to use the ammo MIG stuff. But Mr. Model Man said that this graphic dry lubricant works, and this is much cheaper. It's like $7 on Amazon for I don't know how many, 1 ounce, 28 grams of this stuff, and it works basically the same. And so, you know, if you can't find ammo MIG gunmetal, that's kind of hard to find. So this stuff is readily available, and it's pretty cheap, and you get a lot of it. So if you want to use this method with the CA and metallic pigment, the graphite lubricant works. All right, so how I'm doing this is kind of a somewhat slow process. Now you can come in here and fill it with putty, but again, I like to aim small, miss small. Well, I'm kind of aiming big, missing big here, but I'm not spreading putty everywhere. So with this stuff, all I do is I just build it up in layers. And once I get it to a point where I think I've got it built up enough, I'll come back and I'll mask off the area around it, so I do my best not to destroy detail surrounding it by sanding. Then I'll sand it down and then see where I'm at, and then come back in and build it up a little bit more in areas where it's a little bit low. And it's basically just a process, but this will give me a nice smooth finish. Like I said, I like it a lot better than just smearing putty everywhere. So I'm just working slow, building it up, and I'm gonna have a nice hard surface. And then I'll have to obviously come in here and scribe the panel lines where the right along here and along the sides. So I'll tackle that once I get everything smoothed out, and then I'll come in here and do the same thing with the seam along here. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm gonna get to working on this, and I'll see you in a bit. Alrighty, I got my little modeling buddy here. Hey, Ringo. Ringo. Hey, what's up? Picking stuff up off the floor, and I'm having to pull it out of his mouth. Oh my gosh. All right, so let me adjust this a little bit. All right, so I've got the rear landing gear bay doors cleaned up. I haven't scribed them yet. I'm not sure how I'm gonna go about that. If I'm gonna prime them first and then scribe, or how I'm gonna do that. So I may do a little bit of both. But now what I wanna do is install the front landing gear bay door. And it fits okay, but it kind of does that. So how I usually remedy this, a little bit of an issue here. How I usually remedy this, now you can put some plastic card in there, but this is such a small area, it's not gonna add too much weight. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this blue tack, and you get this at Walmart or your local CVS or hardware store. It's like poster putty. It's the sticky stuff you can use to make little masking worms and mask off camouflage. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this in here and leave it. And it's gonna help support my front landing gear bay door. Now it sticks, so it's not gonna be rattling around even after I glue it. Now with real big areas, I don't typically like to do this, especially with planes in flight, because it does add some weight to it. But I think we'll be okay. So it's just gonna be a matter of putting it in the right spot. And it does kind of hang up here on the end, so let me file this down just a little bit. And there's always a little bit of a trick when you close up the landing gear bay doors on a model that's not meant for it, and even sometimes with models that are meant for it. I'm not sure if it's hanging up on the edge or if I've got too much poster putty in there. There we go. All right. I think I will be satisfied with that. That looks pretty good actually for this kit. So now all I'm going to do is take my Tamiya Extra Thin and just run it along the edges here. And I'm actually putting a lot in here. What I'm going to do with these little areas, man, I got a lot in there. That's fine. What I'm going to do with these little spots, like right here, here, and probably right these two right here, I'm going to take some of my tester's putty once this dries, and I'll squirt it in there and then use a cotton swab with isopropyl alcohol on it, and I'll wipe it away. And I think that should suffice. So I'm going to go ahead and let this set up. I'm going to work on some other things, and then I'll probably try to work on these sections, which don't fit very well. In fact, I'll grab one so you can see how poorly this fits. And I was feeding Ringo some chicken the other night, and or last night, and he got my finger, more of my finger than he did the chicken, so that didn't work out well. So if we put this right here and glue it, you can see how big of a step we're going to have right there. So I'm going to have to bump this up just a little bit, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet, because I don't want to have to sand all this stuff, because I've got this little pointy thing and this thing and this thing. So I want to be able to glue this in and have it propped out just a little bit when I glue it. Like right there. I might be able to glue that just like that. All right, we're gonna try this. Son of a gun. Well, that looks pretty darn good. Maybe I can just tack it into place and use some filler on the bottom to fill that in. And it's kind of, the detail up here is a little soft. I don't like it, but is what it is. Now see, I'm going to have a big gap down here at the bottom. But I can come in here with some of my tester's putty and fill that in, or I could throw some, I might throw some plastic card in there actually. And that might be the best option. Put a little piece of plastic card in there. So I think I may try that. So I'm going to let this set up, and then I'll try the other one. But that actually looks pretty good. So, yay. See you in a bit. All right, fellas. So I've got a lot of the stuff taken care of. I'm getting ready to put it all together and close up the canopy, and hopefully start shooting some primer here on the next episode. So we'll take a look at the intake, and you can see there, I mean, it's not perfect, but it looks pretty good for what it was. I'm going to leave off this section right here, and I'm going to try to paint this one separately so I can mask off and have a nice demarcation line between the white and the gray that's going to go there. I think that will be fine. I've had to do a little bit of sanding on here. I might have to do some more because I don't want to have to try to manipulate it or squish it. So when I glue it on with the Tamiya Extra Thin. So I may have to work with that a little bit, but I think that's going to work out. The rear tail fin, and like I said before, these Kinetic kits, they make things really complicated. But they do give you a lot of options, like this little tail piece here on the vertical stabilizer. They gave you some long ones that the instructions said to put on, but the plane that I'm modeling has this shorter one. Unfortunately, they had this shorter little section back here that goes on, so I've got that done. They also had you glue on this top piece here, and I mean, there was like 6 different parts just to this, and it actually does fit pretty well when I stick it on here. I had to do a little bit of filing. But I am going to glue this on before I paint it, because I probably will have to fill just a little bit of seam in there. And these white areas that you can see along here, that's my tester's putty, and I just filled that in and then wiped it away with isopropyl alcohol. As you can see here, I've had to do a little bit of gap filling. I still need to take care of this. I'm going to probably fill this in with some of my CA and metallic pigment and carefully sand that and smooth that out right down there. It is on the bottom, so it's not that big of an issue, but I do want to take care of it. Once I get primer on, I'll be able to see if if my area right here, and I've already rescribed the panel lines, but you're not gonna be able to see them because of all the mess that that I got going on here. But once I throw primer on there, I'll be able to see any issues that I've got and repair those. The cockpit, I don't know if I showed you the cockpit in or not. I think I might have. But I ended up gluing these seats in along with Mr. Dougie Pants here, and also put in the HUD screen. And if you can see that, I used some of my nail film, fingernail film, and I've shown this on a previous episode, but you can get this on Amazon. This like a nail foil or nail film, I think it's called, and it's got that iridescent quality. And I use that a lot of times for my HUDs, just because it gives it, rather than painting them just straight green, it gives them a nice little effect. Whether or not it's accurate for this plane, I don't know, but hey, it looks cool, so there we go. The canopy does fit. What I ended up doing is I had to shave just a little bit off both sides of his hands, and you're not going to be able to see it because the canopy is going to be painted where that's covering that up. But I placed the canopy down where I was going to want it, and then I glued in this back piece here so everything I know fits pretty well. So I think I'm going to be good with this. But I do want to take care of any sanding and blow everything out of here before I put the canopy on for good. I don't think this doesn't really fit well enough where I could leave it off and then try to just set it on there, because it just doesn't. It needs to be pressed down whenever I glue it. Otherwise, it's going to look kind of goofy. And since this is in flight, the canopy is going to be closed, so a lot of times when I do my in-flight planes, I like to permanently close the canopy. And so that's what we're going to end up doing. That way I can fill any gaps and try to make it look as neat as possible. But it is coming along. One other thing, the horizontal stabilizers, they actually fit in here quite nicely, so I can paint these separately and ship it separately. So they just plug in to here, just like so. I don't want to be doing that too often because these are just little plastic parts, and who knows with this, and liable to break off, and I don't want to have to put new posts on there. Another thing that I'm doing, I've got my base primed right here, and I'm working on the design for it. I'm not exactly set on how I want to do it yet, but I did take care of the tube, and this looks kind of like a mess, but you're not going to see it's going to be inside. So basically what I did is I stuck a drinking straw in here, which fits around my 1/4 inch acrylic rod, and this is the back part of the engine. And I took my Magic Sculpt and I pushed it in around there, so I've got a nice solid base for that straw to be, because the straw is flimsy. And then I just folded it over with a piece of tape and put some 5-minute epoxy on there. So then this is going to go, the exhaust nozzle is going to go on here like so. It'll just glue on here, and it will feed into the back. Make sure that I got it right. So it'll feed into the back, and then my tube will go in just like so, and then I can hold it up. So that's what I'm working on. I'm going to get this taken care of. I'm going to put it in primer. I'll probably flash up some pictures of it in primer, and then the next episode we'll be painting it. So see you then. All right, I was going to flash up some pictures, but I thought we'd just run over it because I did take care of the bombs and missiles. So I thought I'd explain how I kind of did that. And I altered the sidewinders a bit based on the pictures. But the top overall looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with everything. I cleaned up a little bit of some of the seam lines with my Vallejo plastic putty. And but overall, I'm pretty happy with it. It's looking pretty good. The bottom here, the rear landing gear bay doors, it's kind of a tongue twister. They look pretty good. I didn't really have to do anything with them. Now I did get a little bit of CA glue when I glued the magnets in on here, so I had to sand a little bit. But overall, they turned out really good. I really didn't have to fuss with them after I had filled them in. So they're all flush and pretty smooth, so they look good. Now, the sidewinders, let's take a look at these. Everything's attached with the magnets. But the Sidewinders, from what I've been able to see in the pictures, the edges of these fins were off in the pictures that I was looking at from the movie. I don't know the reason. I'm sure there's a reason, but they didn't really have these fins, so I went ahead and cut those off. Just took my sprue cutters and X-Acto blade and snipped those off. The bombs and missiles are attached to these triple ejector racks right here, and they're magnetized. They just fit into the pylon, which is permanently affixed. And same here with the Mavericks. Now, from what I understand, the my buddy who's an F-16 expert, and he'll watch this video and comment, I believe the fins were off of these because they were used as training missiles. They didn't actually shoot off the plane. So there we go. That solves that issue. That's why the fins are off of it. And of course we got the Hades bomb right there, which is attached with a magnet. Now, my buddy and I both thought maybe these Mark 82s looked a little small, but when I checked the reference pictures, they look about right. So, I mean, these are off of a different kit, still a 1/48 scale kit, but you know, when I compare them to some of the pictures, I think they should be about right. So we're going with them. But that's the missiles and stuff. So there we go. I am gonna get ready to paint this bad boy, and I've got the all the colors lined out with my Tamiya paints for the Israeli camouflage scheme. And I will see you on the next episode.